one on the bridge itself, another that has happened at Borough Market. It's one of those popular areas in the heart of London. Restaurants, bars, many people would have been gathering there. Met Police, the latest that they are telling us is that armed officers are responding at both scenes. We've now had a number of reports from witnesses in and around London Bridge who've seen injured people on the ground. We know that the transport situation in that part of London will be very, very difficult right now, with both the bridge and the local tube station being closed. It does appear that a vehicle has careened into a number of individuals on London Bridge. These pictures that we're looking at now, this is just the live pictures that we're looking at just now. Another van of police officers being brought in, removing their outer clothing before putting on the body armour and picking up their shields, which we've seen a number of times this evening. They are the police officers that have been assembling behind those ambulances just a short distance away from London Bridge itself. The first person we spoke to this evening was Caroline Brenier.
So I just was walking out of the London Bridge station, and I was walking to catch a bus. There were police officers in the street. Some of them were coming by car, other ones were running. Then we just, like, the traffic was stopped, the buses were stopped. We just saw police officers just running, and there was one guy telling them to go in this or this direction, but I don't know exactly where they were going. And then this specific guy wearing a white shirt just left down, I think it's Solid Street. Then this area was evacuated, so I went to the London Bridge station.
Oh, isn't his pants?
After that, the station was evacuated. So everybody coming out of the station.
It's not even me wobbling. The cameraman on the news is wobbling it.
And there's still people walking in the street, but like, most of the people are they left.
But in terms of people who are in and around London Bridge, it appears from the pictures that we're looking at the moment that they're being directed out of the area by the police.
Well, the police just asked people to move, and they did, and to move just quietly, and everybody left.
And in terms of when the station itself was evacuated, how was that announcement made? Was that by someone coming live over the tannoy, or was this one of the messages that they had pre-recorded? I'm just trying to get to grips with what you were told when you were told to leave the station.
I wasn't inside the station at the moment. I was outside the station. I just saw people coming out of the station. So everybody was coming out, and like a few minutes after that, they just told us to leave the street. So we went down the street a little bit. But I wasn't inside the tube station when they asked people to leave.
And of course, this being a Saturday night in London, one presumes there are quite a lot of people on the streets at this time.
Yes, there is. There were like a lot of people coming out of the station.
The point I want to make very quickly is, in the past 3 months, we've had 3 attacks. I think, Britain is definitely seems to be getting targeted the most. A second incident at the market. What's going on?
Most of them are gone now. The street looks pretty empty for Saturday night, but there's still people walking by. So you can't go up the street. You can't access the area.
And how have people been reacting? You will have seen many faces moving past you this evening as events on London Bridge have unfolded. Have people been responding with panic, with fear, with uncertainty?
Well, the people coming out of the station, they moved pretty quietly, calmly. There was no panic, but I saw people running from near the scene of the incident.
Oh, I hope no one's hurt too bad.
People running, but mainly it was quiet. But the police officers were kind of shouting at us to leave. So people didn't want to panic or anything, and they just left.
Well, clearly this is
number
a
of casualties.
developing story with a number of conflicting reports. So let's just reiterate that which we know, that which we've heard from official sources. The Metropolitan Police and indeed Transport for London confirming that there is a major incident in and around London Bridge. The bridge itself has been closed. We've had a number of reports of a vehicle causing injuries to several people on the bridge itself. The Metropolitan Police have also told us that they're investigating and responding to reports of an incident at Borough Market. Now that very popular area with locals and indeed with tourist bars, restaurants and the like is but a short distance away from the bridge itself. So it may well be the case that one incident has been confused into two. We've spoken to a number of people this evening who have been pushed back, as our cameras have shown, as the police have tried to create a cordon. Reports unconfirmed that a knife attack followed that vehicular attack on London Bridge itself. We know that there are, as you can see, police there in numbers, in riot gear, carrying shields. We know that there are armed police there in numbers, as identified by our Home Affairs correspondent Mark White. He also suggested that sources were telling him that there was now a working assumption that this was a terrorist attack.
Do you know? Oh no, is she all right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
The place they would have heard about it was Twitter. Will Heaven works for the Spectator magazine. He was in a taxi crossing London Bridge in the immediate aftermath of whatever did take place. Before we listen to...
It wouldn't surprise me if something like this, yeah, is going to be, you know, they're going to keep testing this. What I think they're doing at the minute is testing how quick the response is and how big the responses are to these, you know, like smaller attacks. And then I think they're going to do a small attack, you know, relatively soon. All of the armed police and everything is going to go to that, and then they're going to, because all the armed police in the area are going to be at that place, they're going to have, you know, a perfect opportunity to cause massive destruction elsewhere, because they're not going to be able to be stopped, because all of the armed police in the area are going to be fucking wherever this, like, smaller incident is. And I keep saying this because, you know, obviously none of it is small, but you know what I mean.
Just a line that we are hearing, we'll come to that in a second. Will Heaven spoke to me and told me that he had seen a number of people hit by a vehicle. Here's what he said.
So I think it was about 10:10, 10:15. I was in the back of an Uber cab driving south over London Bridge, and suddenly noticed on the left-hand side of the bridge on the pavement there was somebody down on the pavement with a small crowd around them, clearly very concerned about their welfare. It looked, to be honest, it looked like someone had collapsed, someone had fallen over, and I sort of wondered what was going on. We drove a little bit further southwards across the bridge and noticed that there was another person on the right-hand side of the bridge who was also not on the pavement this time, but in the road itself. And it suddenly, the penny dropped that something quite serious was happening. And basically, suddenly the traffic came to a standstill, and our Uber driver said something bad is happening here. And we looked around, we could hear sirens coming, and then suddenly, further ahead of us, we noticed another casualty in the road, and then the traffic coming from the opposite direction, coming from the south, stopped, and a driver of a black cab said there has been a terrorist attack. I think the phrase used was, it's Westminster all over again. They said there were numerous people in the road, and then a second cab driver stopped and said there had been a series of stabbings. I have I didn't see that myself, so I can't confirm that, but that's those are the reports that we had. I certainly saw people who looked as if they'd been run over.
Will, from what you saw, and of course you saw someone injured as you were driving south on your side of the bridge, you then saw someone injured on the other side. In your mind, is there any possibility that this just could have been an accident?
No,
I don't think it was an accident, and I think I would say, particularly judging from the response to the emergency services, it was clear that something very serious was going on. So we stopped, after we'd seen all of that, we stopped in standstill for a few minutes, and I turned around, and behind me, very soon after that, I saw two policemen get out of a BMW 4x4, and they were holding machine guns, and they were putting on helmets. It was clear at least that they thought they were responding to something far more serious than a road traffic accident.
Well, as Will Heaven was suggesting there, an incident clearly far more serious than